If this is your first year filing 1099s in Sage Intacct, there are a few things that you're going to want to know. This video is also a supplement to the other videos in our year-end center for Sage Intacct relating to 1099s. Okay, so be sure to watch those as well. So if it's your first calendar year filing 1099s in Sage Intacct, first thing I want to point out is on your vendor settings, so under accounts payable vendors, you can create a view that has the 1099 boxes here and the information so that you can easily see which ones you have set the settings for 1099s on. So if you go into the view and you edit or make a new view, be sure to hit the 1099 name, the 1099 box, the 1099 type, and the tax ID. Okay, there's also this one over here that you're going to want to hit as well, vendor form 1099 type. Okay, so when I come back to the prior screen here, once you make your new view, if it's a new one, you'll want to toggle down to it over here. Okay, so I've got my list here. I can export it to Excel as well, and I can easily filter and see which ones I have the settings turned on for. So make sure you get those set. The other videos will show you how to do that. You edit the vendor and you set your box settings. One thing I want to point out is with vendor types, we highly recommend not using the vendor types that are in the vendor record. So the native field right here, do not use this if you can help it, because this field here actually conflicts with the 1099 settings. So if you really want to track vendor types, we suggest setting up a custom field in this section called vendor type and using a custom field instead. So in your vendor types, under accounts payable setup vendor types, we suggest not using these. So when I edit one of my vendor types, you can see the 1099 setting is right here. If you choose to use vendor types, you're going to want to put a smart rule in place to require vendor types on every vendor. Then you're going to be naming these external GC, 1099able, external GC, non-1099able. So you know which ones have the proper settings. So if you want some help in regards to this, if you are using vendor types, highly suggest you submit a help desk ticket for that so we can fix your vendors appropriately. What you do not want to do, you do not want to take off your vendor types if you already have them on, because your settings will all go away. So before you make any changes, highly suggest exporting your list out the way it is, saving it, then making your changes before you do anything. We highly suggest that. So be very careful with vendor types. If you need help, reach out, please. Okay, now I'm going to go into the report you should run to make sure your 1099s amounts are correct. So you're going to go to accounts payable, 1099s, 1099 report. Okay. When you run this report, it's going to run for the calendar year. It's going to be preset to do this. Remember up here, if there's dates here, it negates what's up here. So the or, this will come into play first. Okay. Usually people do not select employees in the 1099 report because sometimes employees will populate in if you have expenses on employees in the employee expense area. Okay, so usually people take that off. Then you're going to scroll down. You're going to group by none. You're going to include all your types. So just add or edit, make sure they're all moved over. You're going to show all here. This is important. All these settings are important. This one's especially important. So show all. And then you can do the summary view. Another tidbit right here, it looks like I'm on detail view, but when I pick summary here, it's green. It actually is summary view. There's something wrong with this field. So I'm on summary view technically. Okay. So that's your view and your settings. Now you're going to hit view. So now there's going to be multiple vendors. For example, there's going to be two of the same vendor at times. So notice one says 1099able, NEC box one says non-1099. Okay. These are the underlying transactions that happened in the system for the year, not the settings on the vendor record. So you have to be very careful with this report. So A1 Electric on my vendor settings over here is NEC box 1. So some of the amounts during the go live process came in as non-1099able. There's lots of reasons that this can happen. The first year in Intacct, it is very, very difficult to get all of the 1099 amounts correct for many reasons, okay? Marked correctly as the transactions 1099able or non-1099able. Okay, so the first year you have to manually look at the 1099s. Okay, second year you're going to run them. Once this is set, you're going to run them and everything's going to function like normal. So highly suggest exporting this to Excel. Pulling up the Excel report. And notice I've got a 1099 report tab. Then I've also copied my vendors over onto this vendor tab. So I'm going to do some lookup and some summing so we can get the report the way we need it for filing with the TaxBandits template. So first I want to sum up my vendors into one total. So I'm going to use a pivot to do that. So I want to do it by the name, just so you can see the name there. You could do it by ID as well. And then I want to do the amount. Okay. Because remember, the settings are not correct. Those are the transactions underneath that had a mixture of non and taxable. Okay. So we're going to put the settings through a lookup. We're going to put the settings next to it. Okay. So A1 Electric, I want to see on my vendor settings how that one is set. So I'm going to match the name first. And then I want to see if it's 1099able or not. Okay, so through the lookup function, I can quickly put these on and see which ones have the 1099 form or not. And then you could do the same thing here and put the box next to it if you need the box. Okay. Usually it's NEC1 only. Miscellaneous is usually the miscellaneous rent only, for example. So using pivots and XLOOKUP, you can get the info you need so that then you can use the TaxBandits template that I've pre-downloaded here and fill in the information by copying and pasting over into this template here. Okay, so if you go out to the TaxBandits website, there's a manual download for 1099s, and that is what this form is. So you're going to have your required columns here. So I've got whether it's a tax ID or a social security number. And there's that A1 Electric, for example. And then if I come over, you can see some more fields like DBA trade name, country, address, city, state, zip. So you copy and paste that info into here. And then your box 1 is going to be from your pivot here, the true amount. Okay. Now, a couple considerations with the amount. Okay. If you have put in commitments into Intacct, you need to back off job to date commitments from this number. So in the go live process, you may have put in some job to date paid amounts for the commitment. Okay, so you need to look those up in Intacct and see what those amounts were. So I'm just going to put a number in here, for example. So if I had 65,000 through the go live process on A1 Electric, I need to back that off. And then I need to also add the initial values from my old system that I paid in my legacy system. So let's say I paid 75,000, my old system. Okay. So I'm going to back off the commitment amounts in Intacct, and I'm going to add in my initial values from my legacy system. Okay. So if you have these two situations right here, you need to consider those in your amounts as well. Okay. So then I would use the 153,150 here for my box 1. Remember to look and ask Richard for the complete set of 1099 filing videos and how to finish out the process here using TaxBandits. So remember, this is just a supplement video to get through your first year. Please watch the other videos as well regarding 1099s.